And we are live, I think. Hello. Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome. Welcome also to
Hello.
Floran.
Hi.
Hi. So, how is it going?
Going good. I'm cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, foot.
Hello, Foot.
And
Hello,
others.
and let's wait to the other lurkers to appear. um, Welcome everybody to a new episode of Contemporary Music Talks. So as we discovered last week, this is a sort of easy chit chat about some of the topics of contemporary music, some of the questions that we can ask about it, and different type of point of views on this subject. And today's topic is soundtracks, and I'm super pleased to have Flo as a guest today. He's a musician and a composer, and he works. He's a professional musician. He works with soundtracks, specifically in theater and cinema. So yeah, I think he's the perfect person for this topic.
Hopefully.
Where the other chat
We'll
peeps
see. We'll
at?
see.
Okay. So yeah, soundtracks. I think it's a super interesting topic. At least for me, it is because it's something that is really an important part of our culture. If we think about how many type of visual contents we consume, basically, the soundtrack is always something that it's there. Probably it's not the main focus when we watch things or enjoy, a film or a series or a theater play. Well, a theater play maybe it's a bit different because, of course, or a performance, there is a different type of audience, of course. But yeah, if we are speaking about recorded stuff like, for example, films, series, etc., soundtracks are always there and are part of our culture. They are something really central in a certain way. Um, so yeah, I was thinking. The role of the
As
soundtrack is
important as the music, as the image, also.
yeah,
Though.
true. Probably I was talking with Nick last week about it, but yeah, we said that in a film, for example, the sound design and the soundtracks are like the 60% of the power of the emotional power of a situation in a film, for example. Even
Yeah.
more probably. Yeah. For example,
The image guys will never say that, but
it's a it's a battle between the sound guy and the image guy. Anyway, for example, how do you approach, for example, a composition for a film? I know that you worked a lot on silent films, and you also worked on theater pieces. So they are two completely different worlds. How what's your approach on about cinema and movies?
we can even add a third one, which is the film themselves, like working on an original soundtrack, because the music for silent movies are most of the time used for live performance, like to make a concert back in the days, not that long ago, but when the movie was screened in a cinema, and I'm usually playing live on the scene. The soundtrack is I don't record that much the soundtrack of the live performance, but every single movies that I've worked on is obviously recorded and can be found somewhere. I think maybe
Mm-hmm.
not all of them because a lot of them are used in festival. But mainly, I've been working a lot on two different types of starting point, which is the image exists or not. Like
Mm.
sometimes the director specifically ask or the choreographer ask to have the music before shooting everything, like before having images for the film or before having anything prepared for the dance piece itself. So it's really two different approaches, which are like really, really different in the core of the composition. Like you have to imagine the thing, or you have to the other one being like you just have to watch the images and then compose something on the images. And it's also um, it also gives a lot of where it's different. It's where you can play something rhythmically, like on the images or on the dance. You can have a point where you can say, okay, when I see or when I witness that point, the music will change, or because you have a visual um, information that can be translated into a rhythmical information. But when you don't have them, obviously it's like just you and your brain and your instruments. So it's kind of yeah, two different yeah, as I said, starting points. Once
Mm.
the thing is started, it's more like how's the background of the communication with the director is gonna work fast. Like, did
Mm.
you interpret the thing correctly, or what's the I don't have the word in English, but the how big is the field in front of you? Like, is it properly detailed with I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't like this, I don't like that, I want this type of things. So that's easy to go sometimes, and the more you do the more you do it, the more you realize sometimes it's not easy. Just because I want this kind of things doesn't necessarily mean I like this, or the opposite, the other way around. Yeah, finally I was more into, I don't know, like country, or the typical techno from Spain.
Spanish techno.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, well, totally. There, if I think about it, and I think about composing something that I cannot see, it's really tough in a certain way to move out from what I think at certain situations sounds off. So, for example, I don't know if I have like an instruction like this is a tension moment in the film, so you have to create a tension moment. Of course, I will interpret this thing in my own way, but probably it's not so close to the way that the director interprets
Mm,
it. So it's a really different approach. For example, if you have the image, you can totally tailor everything on the sequence and on the rhythm of the sequence, on the visual rhythm of the sequence, because it's something really
yeah.
important to consider. Um, yeah, so what do you prefer to do when you work on something? Do you prefer to have the scene before, or to work on an idea, a more wider field?
I think I work better with images and with stuff already in place. mainly because that's something that I always realize when I read scenarios from directors. Like, I'm bad as interpreting the scenario in images. Like, it doesn't translate good in my mind. I don't know if it's a common thing, but like when I read a scenario which is basically really technical, like scenarios have specific um, ways of telling the story. It's not like a novel that just go super fluent, like from one point to another one. There's a lot of steps also described in the scenarios. Like, in there's gonna be like some sort of subtitles. That doesn't make sense, but for you to get the image. But I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
When the director writes down music of blah 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 in the background, sequence 2, scene 22, opening in the shadow of this indoor places, and
Mm-hmm.
those informations all the time remove me from being in the core of the thing. So I don't know why, but it's blocking my mind to picture the thing properly. So it's good to read the scenario, but it's also because you have to do it before, actually, obviously, duh. But you also, I mean, it's working much better for me when I have the images right after that, just
Mm.
because it might be paradoxal or contradictory, but when I do my music for myself, it doesn't work that way. It's just much better to have my thoughts, and I mean, it works better to translate my thoughts into music, because usually it's working the other way around. I'm making music and it's illustrating the thoughts that I have in my mind. And with the images, to answer your question, it's like logical to me to have images and to make music out of them, because it's make more translations between images and between the sense of the music, the core of the music, and what has been said. Like, once again, like the communication with the director and the choreographers are so freaking important to find a common language, like to find to find and define common details about how do we talk about music, for example. Like, which words, like, there's the obvious, this is too happy, this is too sad, this is too bright, this is too, there's that's the common thing. But when someone like knows how to describe his um, meaning of his images, then it's way more fluent to take this and try to translate it into music as well,
Mm.
I
Yeah,
think.
that's also a good point. Of course, because when you are creating a soundtrack, you are not speaking with musicians. So yeah, you have to find a common
Yeah, no,
ground.
yeah,
You have to find a
yeah.
common ground where you can try to communicate. It's not easy at all. I know that feeling, and it's weird.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
mainly because I
totally.
don't work with that much musicians. Like, I'm sort of one man project that's uh, it's a one man project, one man musical project. So started years ago, that led me to meet people like choreographers and directors, and they know that I'm alone in my musical project, so they sort of hire what I do as a solo musician to use it for their art. So basically, they know that I'm alone, and they know that I'm free to hire people and etc. And so that's when talking about the project with the director of the project is super um, necessary, because if he wants to have like 50 trumpets, uh, that needs to be said that okay, you want 50 trumpets, okay, noted. And then it never happened to me, but from specific things like this, I can ask musicians around when there's a contract to find different brains and hands and knowledge.
Yeah. And well, when you work for theater, for example, which is another field, how is your approach? So you play mostly live soundtracks, or is mostly recorded stuff and then played back during the performances?
Mainly, it really depends on the. I think it's often the choreographer, or at least the group budget for their piece of artwork. Because if they don't have that much budgets, usually it's easier to go for a soundtrack already recorded. Because when you hire a musician live, you have to pay the musician live, you have to pay the sound engineer, you have to program how the piece is going to fit in different places. So that means you also have to reach specific places because they have the sound installation that will go along with the live performance. Because most of the time, small venues and stuff like that just have one like classical front and side sound installation with a subwoofer sometimes,
Okay.
and with like one mixing table, one amplifying stage. So you can just plug a computer and run your stuff. So when that thing happens, like I've mostly been doing already recorded, like pre-recorded material for live performances. I did one,
Okay.
a big one, funny one, like not funny, like hilarious, but funny because I was playing in a tent on
Okay.
stage. It was so cool. Like I couldn't see the people couldn't see me. I could see the dancers, but uh, it was sort of yeah, two performances. I mean, for the ambience. Like I was in the middle of my stuff, like guitars and pedals and stuff like that, and the dancers were dancing, and that was a reaction, like
Okay.
following the pattern of the piece and going back and forth between the dance gives something and the music gives, and So I have a really really good experience with that one. It was 2013, so kind of old now. Um, cinema camping trip, yeah. Because the person, as I said before, the person saw me playing in tent before as Hors Sujet solo, and that was
Okay.
funny to make the maybe you're gonna be on stage on the tent once again.
You took the
camping
inspiration
games.
from your solo project basically for the performance. Nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. And what's your relationship with the performance? So when you compose for a performance, do you attend the rehearsals to catch the general vibe, or to see what happens on the scene, on the stage? Or you simply go like, yeah, we need some moments with that kind of mood or that one, etc., etc., etc. What's the process when you work for
Usually the
theater and
productions
performances?
gives the, because it also once again fortunately slash unfortunately um, stands a lot on the budgets again. So when the production agreed on having 1 week and a half of rehearsals, they usually divides days, and you are as a musician sort of free to choose when you can go in and out. Which
Mm-hmm.
basically means you talk with the director and ask him or her when are the central pieces that I would really pay attention to, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you just have to be there and take notes, and that you could do that all day, but sometimes it's not really useful to follow the process of someone else doing something in, like, the process itself, like the construction, like when they talk, when they exchange stuff. And so usually I like to go on the rehearsals, to capture most of the time the mood of it, like uh, the choreographer that I'm working with a lot usually have, when she doesn't have the music pre-recorded, like when I didn't, which is the case now. For example, we're starting a new one, and I'm supposed to make the music before, so I don't have any starting point except mine and what she wrote down as the production um, folder for the production.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly when I go to rehearsal, it's good to have like one entry, like one day where you catch. I think it's the evolution, basically, to summarize. Like to have few days in the beginning, few days in the middle, and like a whole big like 3 days, um, three plain days in the middle, like to get the evolution of how things evolve more than how they are at the end, I think.
Mm. Okay.
I don't know if
So
that makes
yeah,
sense.
no, no, it makes sense. So you need basically to create like a sort of wide picture of the whole thing, and then
Yeah.
try to compose not just single pieces or moment, but of course a wider soundtrack that evolves from the beginning till the end, and it's coherent and it's you know, yeah, yeah, it totally makes sense, of course. True, true.
But again, it
And
depends on the project, of course. Like mainly you are tight sometime because of the production, because of the budget. I mean,
yeah,
I don't really like. I really like to get in to be involved, like hardcore in a project, to be um, like to feel that I'm adding something. I think every single musician or actor or don't really like to feel like as a puppet, like to be the
yeah.
instrument and be treated as such, just an instrument of something. Like sometimes it's good to be the hands, but it's also good to be in the middle of the process of the uh, global composition. So when it happens, of course, it's good to feel involved, and the only way to feel involved is to go to the rehearsal, sometimes on your own, like even if the production doesn't pay you. If that's
Mhm.
doable, it's good to do it, like just to check in and out. Like I take a lot of notes all the times. I really take notes, small extracts of stuff that people, when even when they talk between them, like I don't know, directors and editor, uh, which hardly happens because I never meet the editor. But like making a whole puzzle sort of ideas, and what I mean, their ideas, like his ideas or her ideas, and let it slip a little bit, uh, which creates a weird pattern on a global vision, like days of um, when you don't produce anything, like when you come back, make something, and then for 2 days or 1 day you let it slip, and you just think, you just go outside and walk and listen to it on uh, I don't know, like MP3 player, and just think about how you could make something better for the global uh, project. Does that fit in the global project, or is it too specific, tiny adjustments?
Yeah, it's a very complex process. It's not as straightforward as it may seem. So like you receive an instruction and you just simply react as a machine. It's more it's more complex, and of
Mm,
course I think that every musician and composer has its own workflow regarding this kind of things, depending of course of the projects,
yeah.
and all the budget things. But yeah, I totally understand the the necessity of feeling part of it to be able to translate the situation in a musical way, to translate the context of the performance or the theater piece in a musical way. So yeah, yeah, that's totally understandable. True. Uh, I don't know. I have a probably it's a stupid question. I don't know if there are stupid questions. Anyway,
No,
uh,
obviously not.
but w- w- when you watch something, for example, do you put how much attention do you put on the soundtrack, for example, from your point of view, your personal point of view as a musician composer that works with this stuff?
Like when I watch a movie or something like this.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a friend recommended me a movie lately that I've watched, and uh, well, to answer your question first, a lot, a lot of attention into the music. Uh, oh, but mainly because, yeah, when you work in the when you work in the cooking field, you always pay attention to what other people and how they cook and how they. Um, so I have a lot of. Uh, that's a weird topic, actually, to talk about, because most of the time I don't really get or understand when people say, "Oh, but you're working in the music field, so obviously you're really uh, focused and almost close-minded on the topic,"
Okay.
which doesn't make that much sense. But I've heard that a lot. Like when you go out of the cinema and you start to talk about how the movie deals with that topic and blah blah blah, you can easily use the music to put the emphasis on something. Like that part, for example, was like super great because I don't know if you heard the sound in the beginning that was announcing that part and blah blah blah. And usually when that moment happened, when someone says, "Yeah, you know, I don't pay attention to everything, but you do because you work in the music," so that specific moment always makes me feel uncomfortable because obviously, I mean, yeah, that's obvious. Like my ears are radar, probably as much as yours and everybody here in the chat, if everybody's musician. But um, that's also really weird to. That's what I was trying to introduce in the beginning, to say a friend recommended me a movie that I watched, and the movie was really, it's Emma by what's the name of the director? Pablo Larraín, I think.
Ah, Lorraine.
Yeah,
Okay.
Pablo Larraín. Right. And I wasn't super sure that I liked some parts of the movie, but mainly because during the process, during the projection, I was consciously thinking, am I too focused on the music now? Because the music is from Nicolas Jarre, and
Okay.
some part of it are like tremendously amazing and totally blew me away. But I was so much into the music of a scene that obviously I was feeling the tone and the drama that was happening. but I had this moment of that's why I say consciously watching the thing, but also saying to myself like, am I paying too much attention to the music now? Because this is obviously the music that makes me feel that way.
Mm.
Not to spoil or summarize, but one character in the movie is super cold looking, like doesn't show that much emotions and doesn't show, which is a choice, perfectly stylistic choice also on the images to show. And the music goes in the other direction. Like, for example, the tension is super heavy because of the music with people that doesn't show that much emotion. So obviously I was like, I like, this is the music working for me now, and I'm witnessing this moment. Like, I'm really witnessing me listening to music and then putting the emotion on uh, the movie itself. So yeah, maybe I pay a lot of attention to to the music in general in movies, which is good because that means it works.
Yeah, exactly.
Congrats to the
True.
composers and musicians.
Exactly. Yeah, Nicolas Jar is great anyway. I totally understand
Yeah.
your appreciation for Nicolas Jar. Yeah.
Also for the movie, if you didn't watch it, you
Oh,
can
I need
maybe
to watch
rent
it.
it somewhere. And yeah,
Yeah, because
Emma.
I watched a couple of films by Lorraine, but yeah, I recognize he's a really good director with a very precise aesthetic, and it works. It's not really what I like. Not one of my favorite directors for sure.
Mm.
But yeah, I need to check it out because also because of the soundtrack. Now that you told me that is Nicolas Jar. Yeah, totally. You know, yeah, as you know,
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's one
I
of
work
my
in
favorite as well, but
as you know, I work in a cinema, so I'm a lot into
yeah,
directors and all this kind of stuff.
yeah.
So I need to check it for sure. um, well, the chat is hey Seth, welcome. If the chat has any questions, we are here, of course. Or
Hello,
if you
Seth.
want to introduce some topics, we are here. We are discussing. It's open to everyone, so don't be scared. Don't be afraid. um, I found myself composing a soundtrack recently for a short
Yeah,
film, and it was kinda
is it released?
no, not yet, not yet.
Okay,
They are still working on it. I sent them the full composition. It's a short film, like 5 minutes long.
okay,
Um, and it was weird because I had like a first glimpse on the video itself, but I didn't have the final product to watch. So I think it's kind of strange when you think of musical structures in comparison with the rhythm of the editing. I was really a bit stuck about this thing because
yeah,
yeah, the rhythm is such an important thing when you think about images and editing the images that it for me it's such an alien feeling when the music is not connected with the rhythm of the editing. It may seem weird, but I think there, at least if you're not doing it on purpose, of course, because if you're doing it on purpose and creating this contradiction and contrast, it's of course a choice. But basically, it's weird for me when the music doesn't match the rhythm of the editing. There is always
yeah.
I think that the need for a certain type of connection that is really strong. I don't know if you feel the same about this topic.
Yeah. So did you end up doing something not rhythmically linked with the editing?
No, I do something very precise, rhythmically precise, but it was not connected with the rhythm of the editing,
Ah, okay.
and yeah, because of course I didn't have the final product, so it was
Yeah.
kind of difficult to create. So I hope that the editor follows a little bit the, the rhythm of the music. Anyway,
It's supposed
it
to
was
be
approved.
okay. Wait, good, good, because it's supposed to be discussed a lot uh, pre. Normally, if I mean the editing isn't supposed to be finished that much when the music is in the process,
Mm-hmm.
because normally if you agree that something is going to be like I'm gonna quote Koyanis Katsi, but it's obviously way too obvious. The movie with Philip Glass as a composer. So the music, the images are built on the music, and of course, even though if I understand that a lot of project doesn't necessarily means to be that way, a lot of people like to have the editing done and then to make to copy paste sort of the music after.
Mm-hmm.
I also really build stuff exactly the same way you described them, like on the editing and the music are also, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe if it's personal or what, but I really like to feel the rhythm also in the editing. And maybe it's not that much of the tone thing. It's not like the link, the bound is so strong that the music and the edits merge together, because it could
Mm-hmm.
be seen as one thing, one global rhythm. So it's not that much related to the tone, because it could be linked on some points, like just a cut, like on when two scenes are cutting, the transition is the cut. So you could make use that as a um, part in your composition for, I don't know, like a beat or a tone change or modulation, or, and
Mm-hmm.
since it's not all the time discussed before, that's something you discover a bit in the process once again. And if you, as you say, if you do it your way and then after that they don't like it, or they, it's not something that they were searching for, um well, it can be, you can feel like you lost track of what was going on. Like even time and energy are precious to make a composition. So if you know.
True, true. Oh, hello, dismissed. Welcome. And also there is
Salut.
a question by Grumo in the chat. So does the mood
Grumo and
ambience you're
Sat.
looking for in a soundtrack determine the instrument gear production method workflow, or there is always a common starting point? Huh, that's a good
Yeah,
question.
good question. I think it's maybe more the mood than the, yeah, exactly what you said. It's the mood that determine the instruments, because the main thing that I really like to talk with people in charge of the of projects are basically instrumentalization. Does that make
Okay.
sense? The word,
Yeah, what?
like how to
Well,
use how to represent the instruments that will um, convey, like for example, if you use the best example is a bagpipe. Like you cannot come with the bagpipe at any like random occasion and going like, yeah, I'm gonna use a bagpipe to make that part of the film, like a Scottish bagpipe, super loud, super high frequency, but if makes sense to use it there because of reasons. Of course, it's super nice, but that's something that you never talk the decision on yourself to go with. Uh, loves in bagpipes. But talking about the instrumentalization, it's super important because it also determines how you, for example, to go along with Grumo, to set the mood, like how you understood the ambience at first. One of the best way to see it usually is to go. I mean, that's how I do it. Is you cannot make a sad scene sadder with sad music, if that makes sense. Like if you go in the same direction as in, like if you have um, um, a lightning that removes the background to emphasize the faces of the people. If you have like super short close on the faces to show emotion, if they are talking about lost love, if they are crying, and if there's a bit of rain in the background, it's almost forbidden to put sad music for me. I mean, that's how I picture it. But maybe zero music will probably enhance even more the sadness of the scene. Or even if you put, I don't know, like if they are in the streets, like high field recording or super silence and close miking, or even like, I don't know, like a restaurant that brings happy music. So to feel that, you have to first get if that's something the director is after, and if so, start to talk about like how you understood it. Like if I understood this scene right, maybe then a piano will work super fine. Maybe a bagpipe will work super fine. Maybe a circuit bended, toy for kids will fit super fine.
True, true. That's an
Do you
interesting.
see it the same way, or?
Yeah, yeah. I think you are completely right. I think the same because of course being redundant is not something that works in this kind of situations. You need to work on contrasts. You need to work on something that can add more meaning and not just mimic what's happening on a
Yeah,
sound level.
yeah,
Because anyways,
mimic.
you need the soundtrack to to enhance something, not just to mimic exactly. Because in that sense it doesn't work. It doesn't need, you don't need it if you are mimicking what's just happening. You need to add something more.
Yeah,
I forgot to ask the set question because yeah, I didn't see it.
yeah.
What's everyone thought on leaning heavily on a single melodic motif and building on this motif in a song? Hmm. Hmm. Well,
I was about to say I don't know, but
if we are speaking about certain type of soundtracks, maybe having a motif or a specific theme can be a go way to describe a certain character with a certain type of music. I don't really completely like this solution. At least for me, it sounds like one of these huge productions with huge orchestras and the Marvel film where you have like the theme of that superhero or the theme related to the other one. I don't really like this Hollywood kind of approach. It's very description. It's more like a description that's something that communicates something to me, at least some sort of musical description of a thing. And I don't know. I don't really like this thing particularly, and I don't do it usually. But I don't know. That's just my point of view on
Yeah, but it's
composition.
interesting because it's something that used to be done a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
That's something that is still done. Like, for example, the uh, one that struck me and that I often think about when it comes to motive is like Interstellar of Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. Okay.
There's some guidelines that always comes back, like the same intervals that always coming back. Dun, 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 dun. And this thing is used during the whole movies, but maybe not as one phrase. Maybe that answers that question. Like it's one type of phrase is used, and to build a lot more around
Okay. No.
in
Well.
that sense.
Yeah. In this sense, I
Maybe.
totally understand the choice, and yeah, probably it's more close to my taste actually. This kind of things. Yeah, because of course it's a sort of playing with the variations on the theme. So yeah, it's a sort
Yeah.
of super strict limitation that you use on a creative level to add meaning to the images, and that's yeah, that's something that I like actually. Yeah, but the team related things, so you use a certain team to describe a thing, a character or a situation,
Yeah.
that's a bit too cheesy for me actually.
I never had the chance to really do it. Actually, more
Mm.
like setting tones for the scene itself, and less for like because when we talk about it like this, I obviously make it funny in my head. Like if you want to make a theme for one character, okay, that one, like one of the best example also is Kurosawa, who makes not in with the music, but like the characters are always have a specific something. Like one of them walk funny, or the other one always like scratch his head, so they are recognizable in one thing. Like instantly you
Yeah.
can recognize, even when the character is shot from behind, you can recognize it by his way of walking or talking or something like this. So the music, I mean, it's not working for me the same thing with music. Like I really don't, as you said, I really don't work that much with themes and
Mm.
motives, but way more with the what will fit the best with as we said previously, like the tone and the sense of the scene itself, more than if you use a, I'm gonna say bagpipes because it's going to be easier. Every time that we see that character, we have to hear bagpipes, and that's not something that works that much.
No,
Anyway,
not really.
Hans Zimmer,
Anyway,
yeah, we were talking about Interstellar, exactly.
I don't
Where should
like
I
Nolan's
start?
film. Just to
Who?
say,
Who?
sorry. Nolan's films.
You don't?
No, I
I'm not a
don't
big
really like.
fan of. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I was about to.
Oh no, no. For example, I really hated, and yeah, I know probably I will go and face a lot of people that say no, you're wrong. I really hated the soundtrack of Dunkirk and the sound design of Dunkirk. That was really too much, too annoying, too.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah. The sound
that
is weird in Dunkirk. I'm not gonna lie.
and
It's
that
Dunkirk is a bit not off topic, but they wanted to make the sound like central of something. For some reason, it's not something. It's not like a. I don't even remember the music and itself. I really remember the sound. I don't know if that's something. If that's exactly what you've been saying. Like I really don't remember anything from the music of that movie, but I really remember the sound itself. Like how unbalanced yet important it is. So I assume it's something they want to reach for that, like because it's a war movie, but like way that doesn't really feel like a war movie. It's like really calm as I can remember it, like patient and oh yeah, I remember the end music, like really dramatic and but yeah, I'm not a big fan of Nolan. I really liked Interstellar, but mainly because of Hans Zimmer, I think, more than
Okay.
Nolan.
True.
But one for example, my favorite director is Paul Thomas Anderson, and he
Okay.
always works hands in hands with composers. The main ones with him being Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead. And most of the time, their way of approaching the composition are crazy. Like I've watched a couple of interviews of Greenwood about, for example, the Phantom Thread original soundtrack. I don't know if you saw that movie.
Yes, I saw it. Yeah, it's
You
also
saw
one
it.
of
You
my
don't like it.
favorite directors. No, it's one of
Oh,
my
okay.
favorite
You
directors.
sounded.
So
You
yeah.
sounded like a yeah. I saw it.
No. I really
But the
enjoyed
music
it.
is crazy because the first time when I saw it, the first time I was like overwhelmed by like there's too much music. There's too like every scene has a signature, which at first can be a weird approach compared to his other movies. Like There Will Be Blood being my all-time favorite, all directors, all period era, and because everything in that movie works for me in any like the screenplay is absolutely amazing and how the music can just this is just like caresses every time. And the Phantom Thread has a complete different approach of the music. It's like being drowned in the middle of all this uh, privileged universe of people, of rich people making tiny moves on with needles. And the music in the middle of this is really I don't know what's the word for that in English. I will say too much. Yeah, and if you want to start with one set, you can really start with "There Will Be Blood."
Yeah,
It's a bit long, but it's
it's a masterpiece.
yeah, yeah, it
Really,
is really.
nothing to say about that
Inherent Vice
film.
also is fun, and the
Yeah.
Master also is amazing.
Ooh, the Master probably it's my favorite of his. Even if it's not the
Yeah,
better, but it's my favorite for the themes, the character development, the acting. In that film, there is
yeah.
some amazing scenes. Yeah, no. The Master is my personal fav. Deep with, I agree with you. Same for me.
Yeah. Daniel Day-Lewis is like an amazing actor, and I think he retired after the Phantom Thread one.
Yep.
He said that was his
True.
last movie. Like, finish your personal filmography with that kind of movie.
Okay, well, yeah. um, so, I'll watch it. I have to work on some stuff like that. See you, Seth. Thank you for passing by. It was a pleasure. Thank you for your question.
Bye bye, Seth.
Bye.
I
Also,
heard myself in your speaker, in your headset.
Silence. What's your relationship with silence in a soundtrack?
It's usually where it draws the line between understanding a project, because when you make like I've made a ton of mistakes when I was younger, and I still do a lot of mistakes, but at least now I prevent the biggest ones, like the more problematic ones. And one being, what is the silence in an original soundtrack? And I think there's not a better way to approach it than to say to the director that you wouldn't go for music on a specific scene, for example, like when you are able uh, to say to the director that this scene doesn't need any music to work better. Usually he knows it before you, obviously, because that's almost pretentious to come that way on your approach of the original soundtrack. But that's also how it can be related to the puppet thing. Like if the director comes with a scenario that's have like just bars of music will be there, and nowhere else, and not another moment will be used for. Usually, he knows how to orchestrate this. But the good thing about the music itself, when you are in this specific bar, is to and I think that will make a link with what you've been saying earlier, is that sometimes you can find silence in your own personal spaces, um, especially if the track is a rhythmical, like a really metric one. Like I don't know if you work on click, if there's a drum or percussions,
Yep.
because in ambient stuff, more like ambient stuff, it's more a question of leveling stuff, like to
True.
make more things more quiet, or because let's not forget that even if we talk about soundtracks and how you compose them, there's also a step after the soundtrack, which is basically in the cinema specifically, the mixing of your music, which you don't do. Like you sort of mix your track itself, but you don't mix the track with the dialogues, the vocals, and the sounds that are in the movies, and the door shutting that is supposed to be louder than the music, and blah blah blah. So sometimes, if that's not discussed enough in the beginning, like you can have in your mind the way of going, oh, I'm gonna make a big emphasis on this part because I really value a moment of silence in the music to make this thing happens more, to make it more living. But if you don't talk about that earlier, maybe the track will be, I don't know, like used at the wrong purpose after, you know.
True. So
So
yeah.
silence is really important when it comes to Seth said it somewhere in the chat, and that's actually a good summarizing effect of what we've been saying. Is that sometimes when you want to have a more intense tone, you
Emotional
can
intensity.
you can
Yeah.
decide to remove any music, and that's the same with living arts, like theater and dance. And like when you dancing specifically is super loud, like when people are dancing on stage, they make so much noise themselves, like by breathing, by hitting the ground, or the dance stage usually makes so many noises, quaking and creaking, and that you
Yeah.
can also use that to say, yeah, the music here will be played by you. You will be the instrument of the.
And I think with the dance is even more powerful the contrast that is, but because dancing is always strictly connected to music. So if you see someone
Mm,
dancing with no music, it makes even a stronger impact. Yeah, it's
yeah,
super interesting. That's a very
but
clever and creative use of silence in a specific context.
yeah,
So
one of
silence is a
the
part
thing
of
that
the soundtrack itself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I am
Sorry,
Boogie Nights. I
go
have
on,
to
go on, go on.
watch that one. No, I was about to mention um like even bands, like even if you consider music that aren't at first used as a soundtrack. Oh, I mean, composed for a soundtrack. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the use of silence in general in music, uh, like in, for example, in heavily metric rhythmical music, like such as hardcore and even dubstep and stuff like that. You know, really powerful, heavy, and a full and rich spectrum of frequencies, like is massive. And then when you add a silence, like clever silences are making even more impacts on the track itself. uh, that's why I was mentioning dubstep, because I used to listen a couple of dubstep years ago, dubstep stuff, and I really really liked. That's what I like in this specific genre. For example, when the impact is so powerful because of the what's the word for that?
Drop.
What the drops? Yeah, the
Mm.
drops. When they're working around these specific kind of things, and even in the hardcore, like Knocked Loose, the first album or EP, is like tremendous just for that, because it's small gaps all the time in the guitars. They're using a lot of course, noise gate metal. Like when
Yeah.
they are, you know, when there's heavy guitar, you have to use a noise gate, but not all the
Yeah.
time. And when they do it good, like in this band, they do it super super good. Like the drums is always hitting super hard, and the guitars are well balanced because of those small silences in their way of playing things. So it's more like micro analysis more than the global thing.
Yeah, but of course, I think that the global thing is also made by this specific details, you know.
Mm,
Of course,
yeah,
as a composer, you always need to be careful of both sides. So details,
yeah,
craft specifically for, you know, underlining that thing, that situation, that moment, and also the overall picture of the film, of the
yeah.
performance, of the play. Mhm. Yeah, it's a very interesting topic actually.
Yeah,
uh, I need to close a little bit the window. Sorry, give me a second, because I have like a. I don't know if you can see, there is a reflex on my face.
yeah, yeah.
Just give me a sec.
I didn't even check the. I'm in color. I thought I was in black and white as well. Is there any question?
Ooh, it's super dark. Let me.
Where should I start with Kurosawa?
Oh, well, that's a good
We
question.
missed that question. Yeah.
It's- okay.
It feels over the
Nice.
top. Yeah, Jaws and Psycho. Yeah, exactly the motives.
Yeah, there are very strong motives there.
Yeah. And that goes like I was saying, that usually that's something that used to be done a lot and a little bit less nowadays. Phone, sorry.
Yeah,
But
probably. Yeah, probably it was like the way of composing music, like the way they think about musical composition in cinema. But yeah, probably things are changing in this last years. There, for example, there is a lot of more pop music into films used consciously in films. Like, for example,
Mm.
I think like a very very clear example is oh my gosh, I have the name on the tip of my tongue. That Canadian director of
Dolan.
Mommy, Dolan,
Dolan.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. For example, that's a clear example of how the
Yeah.
soundtrack is changed during time, and these new generations of director use soundtracks in a very different way from what it was before, actually.
Mm. Yeah, there's
Um,
a specific degree of experimentation that evolves a lot throughout the years, of course. Like
mhm.
if you consider how the soundtrack were done in the early ages of cinema, for example, it was basically an orchestra playing to give a tone for a scene, a specific scene. So if the character was falling, automatically that was seen as a comical effect. So we should make comical music, and
Mhm.
which is called now a little bit like kilometers or miles music. I mean, that's how we name it in France, like music that goes along with kilometers, because basically
Okay.
it's just seen as a rolling thing that is non-stop, always playing something, and then as soon as the scenes changes up, we there's another roll that starts, and it's never ending. And that's basically the silence movies are basically a lot like this. There's no silences. There's absolutely no silences in silence movies, which is
Yeah, it
even
sounds
weird to say.
weird.
Silent movies, yeah, silent movies doesn't have silence in. But that's
True,
something fun
true.
to witness, like when you want to make a music for, and you did it for Nosferatu, for example. That's, I
Yep.
mean, that's the last one I seen from you. Um, that you can have a sort of dynamic in the middle, inside the composition itself, between powerful parts and quiet parts. Um, but it's almost mandatory because you cannot. Those movies doesn't rely on silence,
Yeah.
uh, and that's why you don't have that much silences, is because the movies isn't based at all on a narrative way to see it with silence. It's always, there's always something happening in the screen. There's always something that is used, and it's not because of the camera. Mainly, they were shooting a lot of wide angles, and there's always something to witness because the close camera wasn't that much used to show, um, except like evidences or stuff like that. But best example would be to watch Buster Keaton or
Yeah.
that kind of movies. It's almost like wide angle all the time because the action is more important than anything else, and the characters. So the music goes a little bit on the background,
Yeah,
which
but it's so.
which I mean, if that, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I think there is also the reason why all these films as this ever present soundtrack is also because they have like no sound. So there is always this. At least I don't know if probably it's something for us contemporary viewers with our standards, but there is not too much of a connection um, with of course the sound, because there is no sound at all of the actions, for example, of the speech.
Yeah.
There is no sound, so you need in a
Mm.
certain way to fulfill that void, that will
Yeah.
probably be perceived like unnatural or a little bit alien for you as a viewer, so you cannot really connect with something that is totally and completely silent, where you cannot where you cannot listen to the steps of a character on the ground, or you cannot listen to his voice when he's talking. um, so yeah, probably that's also one reason why music was so present in these films.
Mm.
I don't know, that can be an idea, just thinking out
Yeah,
loud.
yeah, exactly. It's maybe silent more because of the sounds themselves than more than uh like it's fun to, if you think about it, to call them silent just because they can't be silent. The music will always be running in loop,
True,
almost in loop.
true, true.
And that's fun to
And
compose for that kind of project, for example, to give a second meaning, because most of the time the it's just a question of tone, but like when you watch a movie and the music is running forever, and most of the time it's just like an orchestra playing switches, like sad on. You can hear it, like something happens in the screen and suddenly. But it's also good to blur boundaries in the movies, in that approach, for example, like to extend the, okay, you did the sad part from this to this, I'm gonna open the field and make this whole scene sad just because, not you say it, like the music, already existing music, like not because you say it, but because I felt it before it was coming.
true.
More like
Yeah,
let's experiment something then. But that's a specific example, like silent movies, it's very very specific
yeah, but I think it's
to
also
the silent movies.
a very interesting operation to, to give a new soundtrack with our contemporary taste for
Yeah,
films
yeah, yeah,
and sound and connection between audio and video. So there is this sort of new life for something that was created 100 years
yeah.
ago. For me,
We missed a
it's
question
something that
from
is.
Grumo, though.
Oh
Also,
yeah, I
let's not
saw. I
forget,
lost the. Yeah.
because I just read
Anyway,
it and
for
I don't know him.
yeah, sorry, we are missing a little bit the question, but we are just going with the talks. So yeah, we are going back to them as soon as this one is finished. Uh, for me, it's interesting to have this new life of silent films, because there is this
Yeah,
sort of different approach in the silent movie when they were filmed to the aesthetic of video. And since nowadays we are like overwhelmed and we are full of if we are not conscious about it, but we are full of video references, and our taste is very precise, and we have a really wide culture in this sense. It's super interesting for me to connect that kind of language and aesthetic with a contemporary sensibility about sound, for example. Something that can lead to
yeah,
really interesting result, not only for me as a composer, but also for people as viewers, because we are used to a lot of video stuff and with a precise language or languages. There are more than one, of course, and that
yeah,
thing can lead us to something else. something that is a little bit unexpected or out of our
Yeah,
comfort zone.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
what was Grumo saying? How about Tom Vergoven aka Junkie XL? He's been doing a lot of big budget soundtracks lately. I don't know him, so I cannot say anything. Do you
Don't
know
know him
him?
either. No, I'm gonna
We'll
copy
check it.
paste.
Where do you suggest to start from, Grumo? Which films, which soundtracks? I'm
Inception.
curious now.
Oh, that's the composer of Inception.
Oh, really? Oh,
Wasn't that Hans Zimmer as well?
yeah. I think it. I don't know.
Ah, okay. Discography. Deadpool. A lot of movies that I didn't watch. Oh, but yeah, okay, that makes sense with your question. Big budget soundtracks. It's mainly Terminator. Like, I mean, the latest one, I just saw something that makes me
What?
happy in a way. The
What?
production of a new movie for 2023 where he will be this Tom Verhoeven, with where he's going to be the composer, uh, and I'm not gonna say it because it's
No,
gonna
what?
spoil something for the one who doesn't know.
No,
But
no,
yeah,
no,
basically,
no.
big.
Big budget
What's
movies.
the name for that? Yeah. Blockbusters.
Blockbuster.
Soundtrack for the new Mad Max. Mad Max is crazy. It's a clip. It's a video clip. I I really liked it. I really liked the rhythm of it. I watched it a lot. Actually, I've probably watched the. Are you talking about the Fury Road movie, Grumo? I
I
think so.
think
Yeah,
so.
because it's the latest one. But yeah, the movies I've watched it really like a lot of times, but mainly because of the educational purpose. Like I've watched
Okay.
it one time in this. I saw it once in the cinema, and I was really super happy and blown away when I went out of the theater because I could feel my body was like there was so many tensions inside my body. Like I had like when you run too much and the day after you feel like in your
Okay.
legs and in your arms. I could feel the sort of the same thing because I was gripped on my seat the whole during the projection. Like I could experience something really intense, rhythmically
Yeah.
speaking. So when I watched it a lot after, it was to understand the patterns and the mechanic of why is that done that way. And
Okay.
actually, the music, there's something specifically in this movie that made me really questioning. Is when usually you have sound design and the music itself. So you can have the music done by someone, the composer, an orchestra, one guy, whatever, and then you can have someone working on the sound design for um, like the sound of a door that is opening or just a small, I don't know the name for that in English, but like small tiny movements, like musical movements that can go along the scene but aren't musical, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And they
Okay.
use
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
a lot in what's the word for that, in like when you are working on After Effects and stuff like that, like the image composition. um and but like the short videos for promotional purposes, usually they are filled with sound design, like
True.
whooshes and and stuff like that. And one weird thing in the Fury Road movie is I remember clearly where it is. If you remember the movie, it's when she approaches the tunnel with their truck, and everybody is hidden in the background, and she's supposed to make a deal with the people to let her pass through the tunnel, and they have an army on their back, and they're supposed to be, okay, let's do the deal quick and then we can go. And this scene, to mark the camera descending on them, has a weird sound, like really dubsteppy wobble stuff. And it's still, to this day, I still think about this small sound used there. Not really musical. Maybe it is mixed with the music, but it's way out of the everything to be part of the music, and which still to this day makes me think it doesn't work for me. But why does it work with the images? But yeah, the movie is super great, and the music is fine as well. Really punchy.
Totally.
To double check more in the middle.
I need to go away for a second. Can you?
Yeah.
I do.
I'm gonna entertain. No
Exactly.
problems.
Thank you.
And by the way, now that he's gone, I can tell it's gonna be a new Mad Max movie in 2023 called Furiosa, which is apparently based on the main character, of course, of the previous movie. But it's just appearing on Foley. What is Foley? Oh, let me check, because I have a word in French for that, but what? It doesn't want to translate it. English to French. Translate it. It doesn't want to. You know, the word that I was looking for is when you look at the commercial, and at the end of the commercial, there's the brand that appears, like which one do I have in mind? Like McDonald's. I think McDonald's have one, like when the M is drawing, or Mercedes, stuff like that, that just make a small sound, like a, you know, that thing can be called a virgule, but that doesn't make sense to translate because it's comma, I think, in English. Yeah, comma. But you get the thing, like it's not musical. It's almost border between music and sound design. It's much more sound designy than actual music. And that's that precise sting. Maybe a sting. Yeah, maybe it makes sense, at least the word. Just like a tiny underlined
Back.
Simon. Classic what? A tiny underlined movement done with the music. And I'm saying done with the music, but it's not all the time done with the music. It's more or less underlined with sound. Let's put it that way. But watch that scene if you can in Fury Road. Grumo, if you can rewatch it, you will get what I mean. Like it's, as I describe it, when they try to have their people in the back hidden in the truck and they try to pass that thing. The deal part has that specific. Okay, maybe I'm focusing too much on that, but.
No, but I completely agree that the sound design is something that is at least in the cinema industry nowadays, it's something that is really connected to the soundtrack. And I probably they are two different fields, so there are different people working on a side and another one on the other, but they are strongly connected. So I think they also have some sort of connection when they create something, a scene. They talk, of course, and they project things for sure. I'll have to watch it with a subwoofer. Yeah. Hello, Simon. Welcome. A wild Simon appeared.
index. I'm gonna put it on. Sorry.
No problem. Also, I was thinking, for example, always speaking about this property of the soundtrack to to be in a connection with the foley and the sound design. For example, the in horror movies is something that is really clear and in your face. There is a super strong connection between the soundtrack and the foley and the sound design of the. Just
what
think
is the
of
foley?
the jump.
I don't know what is the foley.
Foley is like the because of course in films they usually don't use the sound that they record when they are filming the scene. They recreate all the sound of the
okay.
It's like the
that's another word for sound design.
Yeah, basically sound design probably it's more wider, so you think also of sound effects and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, Foley was the father of sound design. So yeah, they reproduce the sound of the door shutting or the sound of the ambience, people talking in the background when you are in a restaurant and all these kind of things. Been tuning in while walking. Have a good walk, Simon.
In the storm, probably.
Cabbage stubbers. What does it mean? I don't know.
Yeah, for example, cabbage stubbers is the people who record when they murder cabbages to make horror sounds.
Ah, okay, cool. Yeah,
when you
nice.
when you make close miking on a cabbage, it makes like skin sound almost.
Yeah, true. Super nice. Foley is old school. They used to do the sounds of old-time radio programs too. Also, yeah, very true. Yeah, it's something
did you do that, for example? Did you do some not some cabbage stabbing, but did you make some recordings like non-musical that ended up being used as a part of the music itself for projects?
No, actually not. I would really like to do it. I'm super curious, and I just need to find someone who wants me for this purpose. But
the movie.
I had a commission for an horror short film, but then it was not done. So, but I hope to be able to do it in the future. Because it's super interesting for me. It's just focusing on sounds and on the soundscape of a certain scene. Super interesting. Really.
Yeah. Well, the music and it's not something that I do a lot, but when I have the opportunity to try something, it's always fun to record like I all the time say close miking, but like to make more specific sound out of the context to be used in the proper context.
Mm-hmm.
And the coconuts to do the horses. Actually, that's I think I saw that one not that long ago. The Holy Grail. The music of that movie.
Nice. Well. Okay. I think we have like another 15 minutes. How is it going there with the cold? Is it?
It's fine. I have a little. Told you I have a little candle just for my hands. Brave, 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 Sir Robin. It's fine. I just need to purchase a small heater.
Heater. Yeah, and also
My heater
you
died.
were,
If you don't know it.
yeah, died in the weekend, obviously.
Yeah, and because I was painting this in black, I just
Okay.
purchased a small. Because the last time I saw Juicy painting his studio, it slowly but surely got into my head. Like I should do it as well. I'm planning to make some changes in here all the time, but not with the painting. So I decided to go with it, and then unfortunately I bumped the heater a little bit too much.
Ah,
Not
okay.
working anymore.
Mm.
I had to let it go for the painting. He's gone for a good cause at least.
Yeah, yeah. Well.
But it's hard
How
to
can
find
we?
projects to work on
Mm,
specifically nowadays. Of course, I'm not gonna play in loop the same thing again and again, but it's super hard to find people that works on you know that's exactly what I was about to say, Foot. Now is the best moment to make connections with people more than working actually. um
yeah.
in France we have the opportunity to, I mean, we used to have it, I used to have it, I don't do it that much nowadays, but we have a lot of small circles. I think it was a lot of them were used on Facebook back then. When I say back then, it's more like 10, 15 years ago, because the Facebook was big. I mean, bigger at least. Like I feel like now Facebook is getting a little bit like old and not that much people use it. Um, but we had like a lot of groups for finding projects. Um, I remember one of my biggest thing to do was to go to. I didn't do it that much, luckily, because I knew enough people in that field. But like going into cinema schools, like for real, if you really, 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 really want to make an original soundtrack, you're probably not getting paid the first ones, obviously. But it's a cool thing to do, to go to the cinema schools, like even introduce yourself when you knock at the door. Basically they are opened, but you can find a billboard where people leave their messages like, I'm searching for a new computer, call me, blah blah blah. You can leave a note with, I do music, like I do a lot of music and I want to help people who are searching for composers, which you're gonna be called for sure, because students in cinema always need and wants to have a music
Yeah.
in their movies, and that thing being another one you can that happens
Just
sometime in the magical land.
just sometimes.
But I think it's, yeah, connections, like you decide to make, I mean, everything is decision. So if you decide to push the domino that will probably push other ones, the movement of this thing will go in a specific direction, but not decide not to move this domino can also make something different. So if you just, I don't know, like try to make this one thing that is not that much comfortable to start with, maybe to go in school to post stuff, but you can also search for maybe Facebook groups, honestly, because we had a lot of offline, sort of like on the internet, but not on the social medias. More like people starting forums a lot, like around the composition of original soundtracks, like composers helping others and directors, and because it's exactly as it was pictured as when I was a super young kid. Like the music field is open to anyone, But if you get the great connection, it will also create new connections, like the webbing. Like people talk about you when whether you want it or not. So if you make a music for a movie, someone will be interested at some point in it, in your art.
Yeah, true. Very, very true. Yeah, France is one of those countries where they push to get arts culture
Yeah.
to be noticeable. Yeah, here in Italy
Yeah.
is a bit different actually. It's more of a struggling run to get some small monies from the state, but if you are not a big institution, it's kind of impossible. Yeah,
Yeah.
and now of course it's even worse because even
Yeah.
big cultural institutions are suffering a lot since they are like
Mm.
closed for 1 hour, 1 year, and several months. So yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
well. We know the situation, all of us. I think we are all on the same the same boat.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, but it
well,
doesn't mean
the
things supposed to be still.
true, very true, very true. It's not the right moment to stay still now. Actually,
Yeah.
anyway,
Tough
well, I
for
think
everybody. Yes.
we are in the end of this conversation. It was super interesting. I think. I hope it was interesting
Thank
for
you,
you too.
Andrea.
Thank you, Florent, for your words and your experience and sharing with us your life, your work, and your ideas about soundtracks.
It was the pleasure. Thank you, everybody in the chat as well,
Yeah, thank you,
for
everyone,
the question and
and
participation.
and I also hope to see you very soon. I will be live on Twitch next week, and also there is going to be another of this. If you like this format of the chat, you can also tune in next Sunday that we are going to have another guest, and we will talk about another topic. So yeah, of course, follow, subscribe, and all this kind of stuff that we need to say because we are in these platforms. And again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Flo, and have a nice day. Stay safe and take care
You
of yourself,
too.
of course.
You too. You
Bye,
too.
bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Nice.